Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Business Spotlight. I'm Scott McMeans with Action Coach, and today I have Amanda Severs from First Buckeye Landscapes. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff today. Amanda's a very dynamic individual. She's got a couple businesses under her umbrella, but we're going to talk specifically about her journey with being in the landscape world. So, with that being said, I want to introduce Amanda, turn the microphone and the camera over to her so she can tell us her story. Amanda, it's all yours. The microphone and camera are turned on.
All right, cool. Thanks so much, Scott. And thanks for having me on today. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
For those of you that are out here who have never done a podcast, just so you know, this is my first one. So don't be scared. Get out there, tell your story, get weird. It's what connects you with people, right?
Love it.
So,
Love it.
just to introduce myself a little bit. So, as Scott said, I am the owner of First Buckeye Landscapes. This is a family owned business. My dad actually started the company several decades ago. He actually went to school. He went to, for those of you who are in the Ohio area, he went to the Ohio State Extension in Worcester for landscape design and architect. And it was a passion of his, and he worked hard, he followed it, and built this business. And throughout my childhood, it supported our family, and I kind of grew up around it. Fast forward several years, I become an adult. I started at Akron University, finished up at the Ohio State University with a degree in business finance. And after that, I went into business management, retail management, various leadership roles. Decided that wasn't for me, even though I learned a bunch from it. And it just worked out really perfectly that while I was trying to figure out what my next steps were, my dad was looking to take a step back. So at that time, we combined forces. I moved home, decided to run the family business. And honestly, I thought I was just going to do it for a little bit until I figured out what I wanted to do with my life. Fast forward about 11 years later, I now own the business, and that catches us up to today.
I love this story. I have to be honest with you because um, two times you mentioned figure it out. Okay.
Yeah,
If you ever figure it out, let everybody know how you did it because nobody ever has this stuff figured out. It just
right.
happens to be what it is, right? So, a couple of things come out of this story. Um, your dad had a passion and he followed it.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't quite sure, but you lived and breathed this world because this is something you did all the time because of family business.
Right.
Then it became a passion for you and you followed it and you're still trying to figure it out. It's perfectly okay to figure things out as you're working on them. As long as you're growing and changing every day, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Most people have the biggest challenge of they think they have it figured out and they never change. So what I
Yeah.
love about this is not only did you join forces with your dad, but you seem to have absorbed his passion for making something that you enjoy, making a business or making your livelihood out of it. So that much you have figured out,
Yeah.
right? The other stuff we're gonna work our way through to figure it out because we have the rest of our lives to figure that out. So I think it's really cool that you do that. I
Thank
want
you.
to talk. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I think what I want to do is ask about First Buckeye Landscapes. What
Mhm.
is it that you do? What do you, if you have specialties, how do you approach the marketplace to let people know about First Buckeye Landscapes? What is it that you do that makes it special and people want to work with you?
Yeah, great question. So, there's this running joke that everybody that walks into Home Depot is a landscaper. So it's a flooded market. We'll just be honest about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say what sets us apart is in the early stages of the business. And a lot of times this happens with people starting companies, they'll do a lot of different things, right? So my dad did everything: lawn maintenance, landscaping, whatever you could do to build your business, build your company, build your brand, build your connection to the community. Over the years, that has shifted. And especially under my vision with partnering with them, we have started to niche ourselves into a more custom landscape grouping. And we perform landscape installations, custom designs, and we also do seasonal maintenance. So that's your spring, your summer, your fall cleanups, and then anything to do with natural stonework. So that would be considered hardscaping. And that's pretty much what we focus on versus the entry level lawn maintenance or different things that people like to do when they first start out.
You can do the routine lawn maintenance.
Oh,
That is
sure.
something you offer, but your specialty is the customized stuff. And that's
Yeah.
what makes it really cool because you have a different offering for everybody that would come to work with you, right? That's what makes it
Yeah,
kind of cool.
and there's a lot of landscapers out there that still do both things. They still do
Yeah.
lawn maintenance, they do landscaping, they do it all. We in particular have focused over the last several years really just on the landscape creative side with the softscape with plant material and lawn work and the hardscaping with natural stone. As far as lawn maintenance goes, that's really an exclusive thing that we have. We do it for existing customers that we've done for a really
Yeah.
long time. And new customers that are looking for that service are best suited with another company.
That is an amazing point you just made.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm not you the business started out being everything to everyone that could possibly touch. And now you're saying we're so good at these very specific things. This is what we niche ourselves into.
Mm-hmm.
We know we have very limited competition in these specific areas. We can do those other things. We may not be as good or as inexpensive as somebody else, but if you do work with us in those areas, we are a premium price because of our the way we do things, right?
Right.
And because of the other specialty services that we have, but you know exactly what you are and who you are not.
Yeah,
That is a huge lesson I think people need to learn is know who you are, right?
absolutely. Yes, I agree completely.
Yeah. I think a lot of businesses start out with chasing money. And don't get me wrong, we all need to have the money come in, right? We need to pay our bills, but you end up diverting yourself away from the vision or the mission that you're trying to accomplish so much that you're facing things that you really don't want to be doing because it's dragging you in different directions, right? If you could just find your niche early on, is that something you think would make things different for a business?
I think that's a great question. And I'm sure we could debate this for longer than this podcast session lasts. However, I do think that if people find a certain niche that they are really good at, it's not going to hurt them to focus on that from the beginning. And I think it's a common misconception that if you do that, business owners think, well, I'm missing out on business then. I'm
Yeah.
missing out on opportunities. I'm losing, right? Somebody else is gaining and I'm not.
Yeah.
However, if that's not the clientele that you're going for, then you're really not missing out. You're only allowing
Thank
time
you.
to then pursue those people that you really want to be working with, thus further growing your business into the vision that you have.
Incredibly well stated. And in the world of, you said before, and I wrote this, it is a flooded market. When
Yep.
everybody can do the same thing and you don't have anything that's unique that you bring to the table, why would somebody work with you? But in a field of 100 landscapers and you do something very specific that the other 99 don't do, you have a much better chance of having people work with you because they know exactly what you provide. You can do the other things, but what you bring to the table is very specific. It's a great idea. It's a great way of positioning yourself so you don't lose and gain all the time. You have a very consistent, very specific way you do business. I love it. I love it.
Thanks.
So, as you have transitioned over 11 years, I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that you've had maybe one or two lessons you've learned over 11 years.
Maybe a
So, what
couple.
would what would you say is like the milestone moment of boom, that's the lesson that just transitioned me from one point to another, like, oh my god, this is so different.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I don't know if there was just one moment. I almost feel as if all of a sudden you've realized that you've been doing something for a while and you just didn't know it. You kind
Ooh,
of progressively get to that point and you're not giving yourself credit or taking time to reflect on those learns. You're so busy working and
yeah.
moving and going, you forget to reflect and see what you're really doing well. If I had
Okay.
to try to answer that question, I would say the biggest moment for me was when I realized it's okay to say no. It's okay to say
Yeah.
you might be better suited with another contractor. It's okay to say, I understand your vision and I wish you well. It doesn't mean you weren't successful. It doesn't mean that you aren't a good contractor. And it doesn't mean you don't want that customer to get their job completed. But if you take on work that in, your deepest heart, is not something that you want to do or enjoy doing, and it's really going to be a strain to try to meet the requirements and the expectations of what they're looking for, then you're setting your both parties up for failure. And I think that was a
Yeah.
huge moment for me because for the longest time, I thought, well, if I say no, that's a poor reflection on me. That means I'm not good enough. That means I'm
Okay.
not doing well enough, right?
Yeah.
And learning to have the confidence to say, I think you'd be better suited with another contractor was a big moment for me.
Okay. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with saying we're not a fit. And I appreciate your vision. I see what you're trying to do. We're not the ones that can do that for you. You're better off with somebody else. Nothing wrong with that. And when you live in a world of abundance, we've talked about this before, right? The world of abundance. There's so many people that are out there that have the services that you're looking for. I'm not the one. That's fine. Go with them. Because as you said, if I take on work that I'm not passionate about, I'm not going to do the job that I should do for you because this is your passion and vision to get this job done this way. My my whole heart, it's not in it. So I'm not going to do the job you want me to. I'll do it, right?
Mhm.
But I'm not going to want to put myself, my reputation in jeopardy because I'm not going to do the job you're looking for. Go find somebody else that can do it for you. I think that is one of the most powerful things a business can say because not only have you identified what you are, but you've more importantly identified what you are not, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Businesses have a hard time struggling with that, right? One of the
yeah.
things we talk about in business coaching is how do you master your money? Like, where are you with your money? Do you chase money? Do you make money? How much, how well do you spend your money? Right? If you're not comfortable in the money you're receiving, yeah, we can find different ways to get you to get more money. But what we're focusing on is how do you master your money? Where does it go? Where does it come from? And if you're spending money to try to get business that doesn't suit you, that's where burnout happens,
Right.
right? That's where people like, I hate being a landscaper. Do you hate being a landscaper or do you hate doing something you don't really love in the world of something you're passionate about? So if you would stop doing the jobs you don't like doing, you'd really start loving your job again, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a
Interesting.
great point. Yeah.
It's fun to talk to people like this because we get so many different inputs. We get so much different perspectives that not everyone has the right answer, but your answers form who you are. And let's think about your business differently. And the fact that you know exactly who you are and who you aren't, it's tough. I will ask you, over the last 11 years, your father had this vision for First Buckeye Landscapes. How different is your vision versus his vision?
Yeah, that's a great question. And my dad's from a different generation.
Yeah.
So there's that. While he did perform quality work, they used to do deals on a handshake, you know? It's a whole different world. We live in a very fast-paced world. We live in a very detail-oriented world. You can't do things on a handshake all the time anymore unless you really spend a lot of time building that relationship. So I would say the only big difference in the vision is, when he was starting and building it, like I mentioned earlier, it was about taking all the work they could take on and just performing it at the highest quality of work that they could perform.
Sure.
Whereas now we're really more focused on building quality relationships with our customers versus quantity. We're looking for quality.
I love that. And again, how much business is generated off of relationships versus need and or wants?
Mhm.
Relationships are the things that bind us together. When you feel comfortable working with somebody, you want to keep working with them again.
Right.
If somebody shows up at your home or your place of business and they're expecting you to buy their services and they're very uncomfortable to deal with, how do you build a relationship like that, right?
Yeah, and
So
there's a lot of pushy people out there.
well, I think there's people that try to sell, and this is something I'm really passionate about. I don't want people to ever be sold or be sold. I don't want people that I work with to be sold on anything. I want them to learn. I want them to be educated, up to speed, and understand the value that I bring or any company I work with. I want somebody to buy into what they do.
Yeah,
So at the end of the day, there's no squabbling on, well, I bought this based on what you told me. No, no, no. I want people to say, I bought into this because I believe in the value that you're going to provide, and I'm all in, right?
yeah,
I know it sounds corny, but really think about the relationships. Now, go back to when your dad did it, shaking a hand, the exact same thing happened. I believe in you. I trust you. You do great work. Go ahead and do the work I want you to do. Here's the handshake. Now,
yeah.
with litigious society, it's a little bit different, and I get that. But the same concept rings true, right? I
Right. Yeah.
want you to buy into what I'm going to do for you. Therefore, we are both in agreement. For my exchange of your money, I'm going to give you my time and my talent, deliver an amazing landscape for you. We both
Right.
agree this is what we're going to do. Pretty cool agreement. There's no arguing. We both agree. We bought into this. I think that's a much better way of doing things. And I
Yeah.
give you tons of credit, Amanda, for having the courage to change the way First Buckeye originally started doing stuff to now you have this niche. You have this really specific niche that you work in. Yeah, you do the other work too, but it takes courage to go from handshakes to now doing what you do with relationships, but changing the vision to the company a little bit. That's why I think that was an important question. I'm glad you were able to talk through that because it's an interesting point.
Yeah. And, just to elaborate on that a little bit, working with a family provides its own challenges, or those people that are out there that might be buying a company from someone who's retiring and wanting to expand from there. The person that you're taking that company over from, that's their baby. They
Yeah.
they created that. They put their blood, sweat, and tears into it. Well, maybe not tears, but it might have been on the inside, but they were there. The struggles were there, right? They
Yeah.
created this. And it's a matter of having respect for what's been built and just
Love that.
adding on to that value. It's not about erasing what's been built.
Okay. That's good. Now, are there any, I don't want to get anybody in trouble at this time during the holidays, but are there any challenges with the family business?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's challenges in any business. I hear about it all the time. I have several friends in leadership positions. I have several friends who own their own companies in different industries. And, we won't do any name calling on the show
That's
here,
fine.
but, there's a lot of similarities across the board, especially with small to medium sized businesses, of connecting with people and
Yeah.
relationships, whether it's with your leadership team, whether it's with your employees, or whether it's with customers. There's a lot of challenges, and it really comes back to communication. Now, adding family to the mix definitely creates a special kind of difficulty because, let's be honest, things can be said and you're still going to have to see each other,
Yeah.
no quitting.
Well, there's, okay, I'll go back to the word you made comment to before, the passion of a family business. It's in your blood. It's
Yeah.
part of the DNA. Literally, it's part of the DNA of the organization because you all have to work together and then you break bread at a holiday event. Like that's got to be tough, right?
Right, right. It can be, yeah. And I'm not going to sit here and act like it's all been rainbows and buttercups. I mean, we've had our challenges and we've had our times where, we took a little break. Let's get our work done. But other than that, we're on a pause right now, right? I'll be honest. I'm going to
So,
be really honest and transparent with people. We are good people, but we're real. And we've had our challenges where
there
there's
you
been
go.
some real big disconnects about how we want to handle things and what stress can do to a business owner,
Yeah.
to a family, or to a team. It's huge.
Yeah.
And I think, especially in America, we forget that who we are as people is such a big factor into whether or not this business is successful. And we really have to stop to remember, what relationships are we building? Who do we want to be as human beings? And
Yeah.
what picture do we want to put out to the world? And I'm not talking about happy pictures on social media. I'm talking about people that really know you, see your imperfections, and know your values, that you act on those day in and day out in a really valuable, true way. And because of that, any challenges that I've had with working with my family, we've managed to find common ground to correct behavior, to heal, to move forward, and be putting ourselves in a better direction, not just for our business, but for our family as well. And
Yeah.
any business owner knows it's fluid. You're not clocking in, you're not clocking out. There's not a work life balance. It's work, it's life, it's all part of the same system that creates your entire existence, right? And you
It
have
does.
to create a healthy environment for yourself and for others. And if you're not, you need to work on it.
Yeah, the idea of of the fluidity, I'm interested because I don't have a family business. It's, eventually I'd like to bring my son and daughter on, but let's focus on what I have right now, right? The fluidity of work-life balance, the boundaries that are necessary in running a business. I think those boundaries are a little bit different in a family owned or business that works with family members in such a high level or high capacity. So when you do take those breaks, when you do shut off the personal stuff and just focus on the business, I'm interested to learn, does the business move forward more fast because you're not dealing with family emotions and passion and situations, or does it lag because those things haven't been resolved yet? Does that make sense as far as the question?
I think I get what you're saying. And I think for us, it might be different for other people, but our business continues to move forward. I wouldn't say it moves faster, but in my family in particular, we've gotten pretty good at compartmentalizing.
That's it.
So
Okay.
even though we might have struggles internally, we never want to take that out on our employees or our customers, because ultimately what we realize is that what we're going through is temporary. And it
Yes.
doesn't mean it doesn't need to be addressed. And it doesn't mean that we don't need to learn, grow, and be better. It just means let's not affect now for something that we're
Me
going
too.
to solve.
Well,
So,
this is
you know,
this is a great point, and it's all about being present, right? Being present in the moment for the business, and then being present in the moment for the family, right? They're two separate things. They're two things that you hold true, and you love both, right?
right.
But let's just put this into perspective for those people out there that are not in a family-owned business, and think about the same philosophical approach that Amanda is taking, which is this: when I'm working, I'm going to compartmentalize the work from the personal stuff. Whether you're a family member or an employee, I'm compartmentalizing what needs to be done for the business right now. We'll deal with your personal stuff in a minute, but let's focus on the business. I think more businesses would be exponentially more successful if they were able to compartmentalize the stuff versus the business stuff, right? And I think employees would be a lot more productive if they were able to compartmentalize, this is my personal stuff, this is my business related stuff, and have a better sense of boundary. Granted, we'll give you time to work through those things, and we want to help you as a company work through your issues. But there's always a time and a place for business, and there's a time and a place for personal and or family stuff. It sounds like you guys have a really good boundary mechanism because of the fluidity. You understand each other very well.
Yeah, we're always working on it.
Yeah.
Even with a long time of working together, I mean, just last year we had a difficult time that we went through. And I'm not going to share that on here, but it was tough. It was tough. And it makes you question a lot of things. But the fact of the matter is that when we hit a hard time in life and we hit things that we struggle with, we really have two choices. Either we let it corrupt us, turn us bitter and stagnant, or we let it give us a moment to reflect, to heal,
Mhm.
to communicate, and to move on and to go into a better direction. Now, the
Yeah.
length of time that it takes to do something like that might vary for everybody and depending on the situation. But if we hit struggles, and let's just take the family part out of it, because in all honesty, every business deals with this because you have employees, you have leadership teams. Someone I know says people will be peopling. It's just it's
Yeah,
it's life, and we got a lot of different personalities coming into the mix, a lot of different emotions, and we really don't know exactly what's going on in people's day-to-day sometimes.
very
So
true.
what's being brought to the table is just a fraction of really who that person is. So if we hit hard times and we hit a difficult moment, if we don't really take the time to not just learn from that, but to adapt and grow, we're missing a huge opportunity as people and as business owners to be a
Mhm.
different environment for people to work in.
Perfect. The responsibility that a business owner has to themselves, to their business, and to their employees is humongous.
Yes.
And I think sometimes employees need to have a better understanding of what responsibility a business owner has, because most employees just come and go. Hey, I clocked in today. I worked my 8 hours. Where's my paycheck?
Yep.
And what they don't see is, well, the president of the company came in at 2 o'clock and he left at 3. How bad can that job be? Well,
Right.
typically an employee is not up at 3 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out how am I going to make my bills this month, right?
Right.
They're not worrying about all the other issues that a business owner does. So there's a lot that goes on, and what I'm a big proponent of is laying out the playing field for everybody in the organization to know your role is just as important as anybody else's. Whether you're the janitor sweeping up or you're the president making the strategic decisions that need to be made, you all have a very important part of the overall machine.
Yeah.
And yes, there's differences in compensation, but there's also differences in contribution. So
Mhm.
if everybody looks at their contribution actually does something to help the business, okay, now they have something to live for, right? They have something to come to work for every day, because now I contribute in a way that, all right, I make this business run. It's like asking somebody that works for NASA, what do you do for a living? I put people on the moon. Yeah, but you're an accountant. No, I put people on the moon. So when you
Yeah.
take a bigger step back and you look at what your contribution is to a business, it's not so finite. It's bigger than that. And that's why I'm a big proponent of making sure people understand their roles and responsibilities are bigger than just their job description.
Yeah. I really love that perspective. And I think you're spot on with that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Now I want to get to a positive side. Okay. What is probably the biggest win that First Buckeye Landscapes had in the last 12 months?
In the last 12
Yeah,
months,
what's a big win?
we've already touched on this, right? But we're gonna make this a really positive thing. So communication and setting boundaries. So we've really talked a lot about communication. So I'll
Mhm.
I'll put a pin in that one right now. But setting boundaries is something that so many business owners, honestly, they don't do it. We live in a society where you're supposed to be available 24/7. And if you don't get back to somebody within seconds, you lose the job, right? So we're in this hustle to try to be the fastest. It's 9 o'clock
Yep.
at night. That's okay. I'm here. I'm for you. I'm available, right?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking people that get back to their customers and get back to their employees. It is important to have a response in a timely manner. That's not the point I'm
Mhm.
making. The point I'm making is we forget to set those boundaries. If it's 9 o'clock at night, do you really need to reply to that email? If
No.
it's, if you're at a family event, do you have to answer that customer right now?
No.
We really need to start learning how to set boundaries, and being in a family business, that's also huge, right? I've had times where I've had to say, hey, listen, this is not a work time. You know,
Yeah.
this is a family time. But let's just say you're not in a family business and you're working with employees and other peers, and there's a lot of contractors out there that that's all they do. Sun up, sun down,
Yep.
they work. And there's nothing wrong with that. But let's be honest. Have you ever had a task that you completed and then you were just done?
Nope.
there's always more to do, right? There's something
Yep.
else that takes the place of that task. So
Yep.
if we start viewing things as a life versus a job, and we start viewing things as who we are and what we want to do, and we realize that we need to take time for our families, we need to take time for our loved ones, we need to take time to do things that we enjoy and to unplug a little bit, you end up
Yeah.
coming back to that customer, back to that employee, back to that situation in a refreshed manner, in a ready to go manner. You handle things faster, you make decisions better, and you're actually more productive. So I think the biggest learn in the last 12 months was discovering that setting boundaries is not cutting things off. It's
No,
restructuring our lives and our businesses to be a healthier lifestyle.
there you go. I think that's a really solid way of saying it. And what I find interesting too is we train people to respond in a certain way because we constantly are responding, right?
Mhm.
If we tell people straight up, listen, you can get in touch with me whenever you need me to. And as a business coach, I work 50 minutes in 1 hour. So I give myself 10 minutes at the end of every hour to get work done in between sessions. So I tell people, you can text me, call me whenever you want. But if I don't answer, you have to give me to the 50th minute and then I'll have an answer, or I'll at least reply to let you know I got it and I'll look into it. When you train people to react to you because you react so quickly, all you're doing is chasing somebody else's reaction time, and it hurts because you have no way to be productive. The way that you explain it, I love, because I'm going to drop in the word you used before, fluidity. If you have strong communication, which means whomever's responsible for something knows they're responsible for it, and you set the boundary of I'm no longer going to deal with this until tomorrow morning. I then can have the fluidity to go between work, family, my own life, and have a really, really strong, fluid lifestyle. I love
Yeah.
that fact for you. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you know what's really interesting is by starting to implement this better and do it more often, we actually haven't missed out on things. I haven't lost customers because I responded
No.
the next morning. I
Here's
haven't missed opportunities because I took more than 5 minutes to say something. I actually haven't really noticed, and that's the biggest fear people have is they don't want to miss something, right?
right.
They want to be fast. I
Well,
haven't
here,
noticed a big difference. All I've noticed is that I'm more present while I'm working. And I have
yeah,
not gotten feedback since implementing this kind of structure by any customer saying, I can't believe you responded in the morning instead of last night. I've never heard somebody say that.
right.
So we're only hurting
Yeah,
ourselves by not doing this.
no, it's a solid point because I think what we do is we're so instantaneous on our phones that we have an idea, so we text or we email, whatever we do, and then it's off our chest. Okay, it's done. I think most people don't really care if they got a response within 5 minutes or 5 hours. They just want a response, but it's
Right.
out of their brain. Okay. I would tell you most successful businesses operate the way you're explaining the way you operate in such a way that their value proposition is so strong that it doesn't matter if they were the second or third person to respond to somebody because their response is the best response possible.
I
Right.
love that. Yeah.
So stop thinking about I have to be fast. And I go back to a Denzel Washington quote when he was talking about the news. The news is so geared towards being fast that you don't care about being accurate. But if you
Ooh.
were to do your job the right way, right, and just be accurate, you'd have not only the most responsive, but the most accurate newscast. Why don't you do that? But everybody's so fixated on being first, not even if they're right. So I put that in perspective towards a customer of yours watching this podcast right now and thinking, I'm probably going to wait to hear from Amanda and First Buckeye Landscaping
Not
because
like
it's going to
forever,
be the
but yeah.
right. It's going to be the better answer as opposed to whoever gave it to me first is probably just trying to get me as fast as they can get to me. I'd rather wait and have the right response. So with that, I think that's the best way to end the call or end the discussion. That was brilliant, Amanda. Thank you so much
You're welcome.
for sharing so much with us. And the lessons that I pulled out of this, I think a lot of people are going to really take heart. Have the courage to make a change to the vision, but don't change who you are as a company. Have the comfort with your communication and your boundaries to be fluid between your work life and family balance. Those are some really solid things. And you know what, when it comes to building relationships, the best companies build the best relationships. So thank you so
Yes,
much for sharing with us.
100%. Thank you so much. Yeah.
It's been my pleasure. This has been a great conversation. I want to thank you for being on the show, and we will see everybody on the next episode of the Business Spotlight.
Awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure. Bye now.